a picture of gold. Nebuchadnezzar is the golden head, because eventually, what you don't know now, but you will discover, is that Nebuchadnezzar, of all these world empires that were to come, he was the only emperor who finally submitted to God. And he's given the prestigious honor of being described as the head of gold. And then we go through the Persian and the Greek, and then the Roman, and then the iron and clay is Rome and Israel. Clay being the earth, the land, the promised land, the land mixed with iron, doesn't mix. But it was Israel and Rome that conspired to destroy Jesus, the rock, the little rock. And it says that they tried to crush the little rock. Instead, that rock destroyed the statue. And all those kingdoms came tumbling down. And that rock grew into the mightiest kingdom the world has ever seen. And it filled the whole earth. And it's a picture of the kingdom of God. It's a picture of Christ's kingdom. And Nebuchadnezzar has had that interpreted to him. And in the very next chapter, he defies the God whom he said was the one true God. That's why I say this is odd. This is odd. Because the oddity of Nebuchadnezzar's idolatry is that he's just had the most dramatic proof of anyone in the Bible that there is a God, and this is who he is. I find that really odd. Now, what we're going to read about in this chapter is that Daniel's three friends, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, they know about the king's decree to fall down and worship this idol. And yet, despite that, they choose not to. And because of that, because they choose to live differently, and I want you to think about this, by them not bowing down to this idol, who are they hurting? No one. Who are they harming? No one. How are they undermining the political stability of Babylon? They're not. They are doing no harm at all. And yet, we're going to see they were despised because they wouldn't join in. And here's an amazing principle. If a person chooses to live differently by living rightly, it will nearly always disturb the crowd. Nearly always. You choose to do the right thing in a wrong world, and you will upset people. And I'm sure some of you have already discovered that. So we read this amazing verse in verse 8 of chapter 3 where it says this: "Therefore at that time certain Chaldeans came forward and maliciously accused the Jews," or these Jews. Why? What had they done? We read on down to verse 12. This is the accusation they brought to Nebuchadnezzar. "There are certain Jews whom you have appointed over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. These men, O king, pay no attention to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up." Verse 13. "Then Nebuchadnezzar, in furious rage, that Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego be brought. So they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar answered and said to them, 'Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden image that I have set up? Now, if you are ready, when you hear the sound of the hornpipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music, to fall down and worship the image that I have made, well and good.' In other words, your life or your lives will be spared." Imagine this: 15, 16-year-old kids standing before the mightiest emperor in the world of that day. The full might. And here's these 16-year-old kids standing before the emperor, fully armed. How would you feel? How did they feel? "But if you do not worship, you shall immediately be cast into a burning fiery furnace." Now, I said to you, these first 4 chapters are really asking a question. who is the real God? And here we have that question being put. And it reveals to us that these stories have been selected. They really happened. They're true events, but they're also serving a purpose. And here it is. And who is the God who will deliver you out of my hands? And what we're about to see is that God not only allows for 3 of his faithful servants, 3 of his children, 3 people, 3 young boys who've said, God, we love you more than anyone, anything else. We worship you. We give you our lives. And next thing, all hell is breaking loose against them. Just because you choose to live right doesn't mean everything will go right. Has anyone discovered that? You only have to have a heartbeat and a pulse and a bit of breath and you'll discover that. Just because you choose to live right doesn't mean everything will always go right. And God is not only allowing this to happen, he is the one who's ordaining it to happen. God is orchestrating this. He ordains for his people to go through trial and adversity. But get this, please get this. You will, consider me a prophet. Tell me in months, weeks, days to come, gee, Andrew, you were right. Here's my prophecy. You will go through hard times. You might want to write that down, date it. I'll sign it if you like. You'll go through difficult times. For some of you, you will go through adversity. For some of you, you will go through extreme trial. Some of you, I don't wish it on anyone. Personally, I've told God I can't because I have an allergy against it. But there are some people, and you will go through trial. You will. You'll go through incredible adversity. You will lose things that you really wished to God you'd never lose. A loved one, a car, an iPhone. Someone said camera. I was going to say that, but I couldn't bring myself to say it. You'll go through and in life you'll lose things that are precious to you. Your own health, trial and adversity. You might think, the God I worship would never do that. You ever read the book of Job? You ever seen what was going on there? You ever read the Apostle Paul cry out for God's grace? And God said, my grace is sufficient for you, but in this instance, my grace is the strength to help you get through it. Okay, so here, this last statement, I really want you to get this. God ordains for his people to go through trials and adversity to show the world the difference. What difference are we talking about? You see, the world has a way of handling trial and adversity. And God does not exempt the believer from going through it. And when you, believer, child of God, son of God, daughter of God, go through trial and adversity, God, your Father, is a proud daddy when he wants to show to the world, this is how my children go through just what you go through. When you go through it, you hit the bottle. You take pills, you take tablets, you try and medicate yourself out of it. You try and do all this stuff. My children, they go through exactly the same. And they lift their hands in worship to me. And they quietly trust me to get them through. That's the difference.